show. Today we have a very special guest, Professor Joseph Borg. He is an academic, a molecular geneticist, and principal investigator at the University of Malta. His primary interest is the understanding of development globin gene switches, as well as the use of next-generating sequencing tools to uncover locked secrets of life. He leads the Borg group at the University of Malta, and in November 2020, his country's first ever biomedical science mission to the International Space Center on board of a SpaceX CRS-23 vehicle. So welcome again, Joseph. How did you start your scientific career? Did you always wanted to be a scientist?
Okay, so my scientific career, so I think I would say that in an original context, okay, so I have two elder brothers, Arrigo and Adrian, and they both have their area of interest with respect to science. My elder brother works at the air traffic services, and my middle brother works in an electronics company. And I think I used to see a lot of these chemistry sets and tiny experiments being done at home. So I think the environment, okay, was there. So if you ask me whether I wanted to become a scientist or I ever wanted, okay, or always wanted to become a scientist, the answer is a definite yes. So the idea of working in a laboratory, doing experiments and identifying new discoveries is something which I always wanted to do.
Obviously, you've done so many great things, and I followed your work, and I continue to follow with a big passion. What is the greatest accomplishment that you have achieved so far, according to you?
I think as the greatest accomplishment in the context of science, I think a major breakthrough came during my PhD year when I was working on a very specific family study. This was all about hemoglobin gene switching and erythropoiesis. And as part of my studies, I had discovered and identified a novel or a new DNA mutation that was responsible in causing a shift in balance in their hemoglobin levels in blood. And this discovery led to many other research groups in Europe and elsewhere to also look at this gene for mutations and variants. And in fact, there was a ripple effect in many research groups identifying these variants. And therefore, this original discovery that I did was published in Nature Genetics, together with my mentor and also my research team. And it is something which I feel very proud of.
You are leading the Borg group at the University of Malta, and you are a brilliant leader, and people describe you as an outstanding leader and team worker. According to you, what are the most important attributes of successful leaders today?
Yeah, I think the most important attributes for a successful leader today, I think we live in a challenging time, and the challenges come, ironically enough, because of the fast pace and the rapid developments that we experience, that we live day in, day out. I mean, now we live at a time where to sequence a human genome no longer takes many years, okay? Just like we did in the human genome in the year 2000 and 2001. But now we can sequence genomes in the span of few days, maybe a week. We also live at a time where we are rapidly churning out data, a lot of raw data, and that data is being analyzed and interpreted at a much slower pace than we want to. So this is the importance of informatics, bioinformatics, and systems biology. So I think in order to be successful as a leader in this day and age, you need to keep abreast of things. You need to keep up to date. That is a prerequisite. It is by force. Otherwise, you are stuck in a rut, or you are kept way behind. Also, I think it is extremely important to delegate and network and collaborate. I mean, a person to be successful and to be a leader cannot be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Okay, you have to excel in an area, but you also have to delegate and discuss with your colleagues and your peers in order to move forward. An interesting quote, or maybe something to have in mind, is that generally people and scientists and leaders can move very fast, especially if they work alone, right? However, do we really want to just move fast, but not arrive at our destination or our objective? And to do that, to achieve your scope, your mission, you need to run together. And together you can run maybe not fast, but you can run very far, okay, to your ultimate objective. I think that is an important attribute. So be humble, be always attentive and listen to your peers, okay? There's no room for egos. Generally, those type of people don't really survive much or long. So you need to just go ahead, team up together and move further to your objective.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your current goals, about your future experiments at the International Space Center? What is your mission?
My current goals, okay, there are many, but I think some of the important ones, as true as any other life scientist, I would say, is to understand life in its glory. And this is not just human life, but also the intricate mechanisms of what makes a cell living. Okay, so this is an always how to say an ongoing goal. So I am not too sure whether I will arrive at its end. Probably it will be a number of years until I arrive at that end. And yes, and other goals are to fully elucidate these intricate mechanisms that control red cell production and hemoglobin switching. It is a goal that I have been working on for many years. And lastly, myself and together with my team, the Space Omics team, we have a number of goals that, if we roll them out, they should become a world first. And we are really working hard to achieve those goals. And hopefully, once they are made public and rolled out to the community at large, it should have some meaningful impact and ripple effect, not just the community who work in space biology per se, but also space in general.
You're also involved with Space Omics and Twin Study. Can you tell us a little bit more about this project and why they are important?
Yes, so involvement in Space Omics and the Twin Study. So Space Omics is something which is my own, and together with my colleagues Gordon, Greg, and Justin, who come from the private sector, and they co-founded ArcaFort, which is a data tech company. And in fact, ArcaFort, with Space Omics and with my academic studies, they were there present to help us with data connection from Malta to the International Space Station when we sent our Mallet program missions. So we have sent 2 so far. Mallet 1, which was last year. That was the very first space bioscience mission sent from Malta to space. We sent our second follow-up mission this year, this summer, and we are of course now conducting our experiments in the lab to see the results and to see whether we manage to replicate the findings. And a third, possibly a final mission under the Mallet program, will be sent next year in February on a SpaceX CRS-27. And this third mission is I'm very excited for it, because for the first time, as opposed to just a Maltese study, we also have some very interesting international collaborators who are also putting in their samples in this mission. So I'm looking very forward to that. The Twin Study is an impeccable study. It has been devised and planned by people in the States. There is Brent West and also Chris Mason, who is of course a leading and authoritative figure in space bioscience. And the idea here is that in the past we have seen published studies about the NASA identical twin studies, Mark and Scott Kelly. Now that was one study on one pair of twins. The idea is to have many more identical twins, possibly also triplets, and therefore we can replicate, validate, conduct even extensive biological studies in the context of blood and other measurements which are biochemical and other measurements that are important for space bioscience. And this time around, having additional or multiple twin studies will make this study much stronger, okay, and much more valid. And like I said earlier, the advent of new tools and new technologies able to single cell sequence individual cells. I mean, this is something which we are doing. The twin study will also be doing, and the implications of these studies will transcend the borders. And actually, it will be an out of the world study.
What advice would you give to young people who dream of becoming scientists and working with NASA?
I think what I have personally learned over the years is that so of course it is important to have multiple ideas. I think it is also important to have one or two key ideas which are overarching, and your other mini ideas are there to help you achieve a primary goal, okay, or two goals, not more. You don't want to have too many goals, because that will detract from your attention. And I think if my past history serves as inspiration, I had many, I would say, I wouldn't say hurdles, but I had many rejections, so to say, right? You apply for a grant to get funding, and you don't get funded. Probably the rejections or the inability to attract large grants would outweigh the number of times that you will get grants or you will get funding. However, that single or a few times that you will get funded, generally it will supersede, or it will be enough to achieve your goal, which means do not give up, never give up, even if you get a failed or sort of a negative reply to your pitch, to your projects, to your ideas. Do not stop there. Probably the person on the other receiving end is not seeing the same, or is not in sync with your own ideas, and therefore try to move on and identify other areas or other people who can sort of subscribe to your idea, to your pitch, or to your overall goal. And I think if you remain, I think an important word here is perseverance. If you are believing in what you are doing, then ensure to remain perseverant throughout, and ultimately you will achieve your objective. You will arrive at your destination. And then you will see that when you arrive at the finish line of our destination, in reality, your journey is about to begin. Thank you, Datina.